Rogers. I'm a pilot, and every pilot should have a hero wall. And I'm going to talk about how to properly set up your pilot's hero wall. Now, first of all, what you should do is you should put up a few certificates of neat organizations you belong to. Now, here's a nice one, the Society of Experimental Test Pilots. I'm a member of it, and they give you this very nice certificate suitable for framing, so I've got that. And then I've got another one over here. I'm a lifetime member of Society of Experimental Test Pilots. I'm also a lifetime member of Experimental Aircraft Association, so those feel prominently, although, you know, they have a bigger one here, Society of Experimental Test Pilots, so they get the center portion. And then what you should have is pictures of aircraft you have flown. And on here I have put the date of my last flight of the aircraft. This is an F-18. It actually came from the Blue Angels. When they wear out aircraft, they give them to NASA. And last flew that in '98. This is an F-104. I also got to fly out at NASA doing simulated shuttle approaches. That was really cool. Got a little glare there. Flew that back in '77. That's back when I was in the Air Force. T-38 chase pilot, got that one. F-15 over here. And then you should have, if you acquire awards. This is, I did a paper talking about flight control design, and this is from the Society of Experimental Test Pilots. I got the Best Technical Paper of the Year award. And then Aviation Week kind of saw that, and they thought it nice, and they gave me an Aviation and Space Technology Laurels Award for '99 commercial aviation. Then you get other little things like here's a nice signed poster from the Blue Angels. Actually, this was courtesy of my youngest son, who is not a pilot, but actually knew one of the guys involved in producing these posters, and I was able to get one of those. And I also have one of the Thunderbirds because my co-pilot going through Airbus training was Steve Anderson, who was a two-season leader of the Thunderbirds. And interesting to have that kind of a co-pilot with you in training because I had to really work hard to keep up, and I was the captain. Here's a picture. You always have nice pictures. Here's a picture of me and my son. My son's an airline pilot, oldest son, Mark. I taught him to fly Solidum, totem in gliders, Solidum in Cessna 150, then prepared him for his commercial and instrument tickets. And he got hired by United at 23, the age of 23. Here is a little certificate they give you when you make captain. That occurred for me in '91, July 13th of '91. This is a little thing I put together when I was out at Vance Air Force Base becoming a pilot. There's, of course, the hero shot in front of the trainer aircraft there. There's the class. They delayed our class, so it's 7407 went to 7501. A little thing of high flight. I was in the C flight for the T-37s and the L flight for the T-38s, and that's our class patch that Gordy put together. Very nicely done. And then other things like when I was out at Edwards, this is a little plaque. That was the patch for Edwards ad Inexplorata, towards the unknown, and then the time I was there. And then some of the programs that were going on while I was out there. Of course, this is the Edwards patch, and it was under Systems Command. Test Ops was what I was assigned to. I went to the instrument flight school on the way out there. The approach and landing of the space shuttle was going on out there, the testing, and that was really cool. There are a lot of neat stories about that. I had my office in the test pilot school when I was senior flight examiner in Stannavale. Not going to talk about this one too much. And other things, the F-16 Joint Test Force, the F-16 was in development, the F-5, the F-15, the B-1, the A-10. There's another F-15 Joint Test Force patch, and this is the F-5 Eagle 2, Tiger 2, they called it, and then the F-16 experimental test and evaluation that was going on. And then we have here the my Wright Brothers certificate 50 years. It's actually, this is very critical because it's actually signed by Orville and Wilbur Wright. How they got that, I'm not sure. But that was keeping my nose clean for 50 years. I started out skydiving because I couldn't afford actually to fly, and I had a great fear of flying. I didn't mind takeoffs, but landings were terrifying. So after about 113 departures from the aircraft before it came into land, I finally got my courage up and I could learn to land. Now, this parachute was the Paracommander, and this was the good chute at the time. The most sophisticated, there's no problem with that. It has all these holes to generate lift and stuff like that. But I've talked to some recent skydivers and they have no idea what this chute is. And then another little interesting thing I got from my dad after he passed away. This is a little thing he put together. He was a firefighter, and there are my wings from pilot training. My grandmother's pocket watch. This is my sister's nursing pin and a little hat they had. And my father was in World War II as a forward air controller in the Signal Corps. And this, the little letter opener there says Anna, and that's a little shoe. Supposedly this was in somewhere near Amsterdam. I'm not quite sure. Of course, the lines went back and forth during the, shortly after the D-Day invasion. And the Nazis retook one of the cities, and the people there had been supportive of the American troops. So they took the mayor, stood him up against a tree and executed him. And after the Allies came back in and retook the area, they carved the tree up into these little trinkets for the GI servicemen. And I've tried to locate where that city is, but I've not been able to find really any information on it. And of course, this is my hero wall. This is the primary hero wall. Now, you often may need a secondary hero wall just if you have a little bit of overflow. And so I'm going to take you on that little tour. So we'll come around here, and this is an unfortunate thing when you get a picture. This is an SR-71. NASA was flying the last SR-71s. They had two of them. And this was signed, unfortunately not in permanent ink. It was signed by the last two crews. So a total of 4 pilots have signed this. And Fast Eddie Snyder was here. You really can't see it at all. And that's unfortunate. And here's a little poster blown up of the Boeing 247. I had a chance to fly that. Boeing, when I was doing flight test work, I was chairman of the ALPA, the Airline Pilots Association New Aircraft Committee, and I was flying the 777 and things like that. And Boeing mechanics were restoring this aircraft. And it's now in the museum, the Seattle Museum of Flight now. It's a permanent display there. But it was flying for a while, and I had the chance to fly it. And there's a picture that shows the 777 and the Boeing 247 together. And I was told that I'm the only non-Boeing test pilot who's flown both of those aircraft. And so now this is transitioning down to my secondary hero wall. It's always important to have more than one. Picture of a 27, one of my favorite airplanes, a couple of old, historic type of posters. There's the group of us when we had our first flight on the 777 in flight test that later became a United Airlines aircraft, but it was used in flight test. That's me on the left here. Regulations, old regulations of 1920. There's us standing in the engine. I know the lighting isn't the best here, sorry about that. But that's me on the one side there, and then that's me during a test flight of the 777. You got some test instrumentation here. That's Excel, decel, and you can put anything you want up there as far as stall speed and any parameter that you want. So now let's continue on down. It's always good to separate these hero walls, like power supplies. You want separation so you don't get into trouble with having them too close. So I'm going down here into the lower regime. And oh, here's a picture of the model of the Boeing 247. My kids got that for me since I had flown it, and they also got me one of my biplane with, of course, my tail number on it. That's real nice, 727KR, my wife's initials, and one of the airplanes I like to fly. And then other things while you're doing this work, Boeing gave me a very nice model of the 777. I was team leader of the Working Together group, and I got a little, let's see if you can even read that. It's a little bit hard. But it says, presented to Captain Ron Rogers, ALPA Boeing 777, Working Together team member, the Boeing Company, and the date is May 30th, 1995. And we actually got our group listed on the Collier Trophy. The Boeing won the Collier Trophy, and so we got our names on that, which is kind of nice. And of course, to show that you're getting near the secondary hero wall, it's always good to have a picture of an airplane. And here we go. A friend of mine gave me a few pictures of my Boeing plane. There's me standing next to the F-18 again. There's one of the typical chase things we did where a missile was, that's a Maverick being fired off the F-16. That was an interesting time. And then I've got T-38 here. It was used to chase the shuttle, of course. There's me next to my biplane. There's back when I was skydiving. There's the Intrepid Aviator about to jump out of the airplane. There's when my son got hired by United. My very first aerobatics instruction by Dave Lammers there, and he's on the left. I'm in the center, and Russ Bone, a friend of mine, is on the other side. There's a picture from the approach and landing phases of the space shuttle, and then all sorts of little pins and stuff. And then when I got out of United, a bunch of people come, you get a picture and they sign, and it's kind of like, you know, move over, we want your seat and stuff like that. And then a few other things like, that was my new hire certificate. That's when I'd been a captain for, let's see, well, that's when I'd been with United for 30 years. I was captain total of 25. That's when I retired. They give you that. This is actually my last flight. I got they had a water cannon salute for me, and it actually caught the rainbow just right, and they called it a water lay. And that was my last flight, my last takeoff out of Maui on August 9th, 2015. I hauled some of the troops around in and out of Saudi Arabia and other places like that. I got them to sign a flag for me. There's a picture of them getting on the airplane, and then one of the guys actually signing it. And of course, you always get coffee cups, all sorts of things you're involved in. Fighter group I was in, some Boeing cups, some United cups, various things like that, site experimental test pilots. And then you get a few little nice things like this one was signed by Bob Gilliland, who was the chief test pilot on the SR-71, and he had some really neat stories. And then over here is a certificate of aeronautical rating. You see how the how it just kind of comes around the corner here. That's when the Air Force says, yeah, you true are a pilot. That's a picture of my pilot training class. There's a painting that one of my students gave me, which was very nice. And there's when I was out in working for Edwards. Yeah, my lighting's terrible here. And I worked at Boeing for a while, and there's when I was a T-37 instructor. So that's basically it, and you have other little things here like your collection of memorabilia. But all these are important things to have as a pilot, and to show everybody when they come to your house that you are a pilot. So thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it.